take you to Russia now, where President Vladimir Putin's staunch critic and opposition leader Alexei Navalny has been hospitalized. His camp claims Navalny was poisoned. He fell ill during a flight and was admitted unconscious to a hospital. For more on this, I'm joined by our Russia correspondent, Julia Chapman. Julia, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Who is Alexei Navalny, and what do we know about his condition and how he became ill?
Well, Alexei Navalny is a prominent opposition figure here in Russia. He's been a thorn in the side of the Kremlin for many years. He came to prominence in 2011 when there were huge protests here in Moscow ahead of the presidential election, when Vladimir Putin was planning to run again after 4 years as prime minister. And we understand that he was traveling from Siberia back to Moscow when he took ill on a plane which had to carry out an emergency landing in the Siberian city of Tomsk, and according to his press secretary Kira Yarmish, he was taken off the plane unconscious and taken to hospital, where he now remains in a serious condition in a coma, hooked up to a ventilator. Now, doctors at that hospital say that they haven't got any diagnoses yet. They've carried out a number of tests, and poisoning is one of the possible reasons that they are examining for his condition. Kira Yarmish, his press secretary, says she believes he was poisoned. She said he had a cup of tea at the airport in Tomsk before departure. S7, the airline with which they were flying, says he didn't eat or drink anything on board, and we expect to hear more about his condition later this evening.
Julia, if it is confirmed that he indeed was poisoned, this would be the second attempt at poisoning him, certainly in as far as the version of his camp is concerned. And not only that, there have been a number of instances where he's been detained, right?
Yes, he has been a target before. He has been attacked in 2017 with a green dye, a chemical substance that painted his entire face green and enforced some damage to his eyes afterwards. He was also, he had some skin condition in prison last year when he was serving a short sentence for organizing protests ahead of local and regional elections. He was taken to hospital on that occasion as well and diagnosed with contact dermatitis, but he says he believes that he was exposed to a toxic substance while in his prison cell. He's been arrested on numerous occasions. He's been the target of campaigns from a number of officials here in Russia. He has been a thorn, as I say, in the side of the Kremlin, but he's also a very high-profile anti-corruption campaigner. He heads an organization called the Anti-Corruption Foundation, which has carried out a number of investigations into high-profile figures here in Russia, accusing them of corruption. So he's made a lot of enemies in his many years of anti-corruption campaigning. It's still very unclear what has happened on this occasion, but as I say, his campaign team does believe that he has been poisoned.
Place this in context for us then, Julia, around the issues of poisoning of Kremlin critics, but also, you know, the former intelligence, particularly former intelligence operatives. And we've seen two prominent incidents in the United Kingdom in the last 4 years or so. One was around Sergei and Julia Skripal, that was in 2018, and, of course, Alexandra Litvinenko in 2016.
Those are some of the most high-profile examples of prominent Kremlin critics who met, one who met a very unpleasant end after being poisoned in London, Alexander Litvinenko, and then in 2018 when Sergei and Julia Skripal were targeted with a nerve agent that the United Kingdom says was carried out by the GRU, Russian military intelligence. Of course, the Kremlin has denied any involvement in either of those incidents, but it's certainly true that a number of prominent Kremlin critics have met very unfortunate ends. Another one of them would have been Boris Nemtsov, a politician here in Russia who was shot within view of the Kremlin a few years ago. But many defenders of the Kremlin say that it would not actually be very expedient for the Kremlin to orchestrate the killing of Alexei Navalny. It would raise more concerns than it would actually do any damage to Alexei Navalny and his campaign. It would likely mobilize protesters on the streets of Moscow. And because Alexei Navalny is not actually given any airtime on television, he doesn't actually have a huge amount of support. So many Kremlin defenders are saying there's really no need for him to be targeted by the Kremlin.
All right, live for us in Moscow, Julia Chapman with that update on that particular story. And that will do it from me for all angles for today. Standing by is Jeremy Meggs with your lunchtime update.